at 6 o'clock. One more minute.
It's almost. It's about ready to change any second. It just changed.
All right. Well, let's go then.
Would you pray with me? Dear Lord, thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you for your love and your blessings that you give to us that we don't deserve. Be with those that are sick, lost, and fighting a battle that you only know. We also want to thank you for our first responders, our police department, our EMS, and our fire department for protecting this wonderful city that we call home. It's in your holy precious name we pray. Amen.
Benell,
Present.
Gauntz, Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry,
Here.
Marion,
Yes, ma'am.
Neal, Norris,
Here.
Trigg, Witcher.
All right. We have a quorum. So we're going to move forward with our first item of business is to approve the agenda for tonight's council meeting as it was sent to you on Thursday. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it was submitted.
Motion, Morris.
Is there a second?
Second, Kirkpatrick.
Okay, any discussion of the agenda? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move forward with the agenda before you. Now let's go ahead and you've had a chance to look over the minutes of the meeting from September the 11th, and I would entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from that particular meeting.
Motion, Marion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about the minutes from the last meeting? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, the minutes have been approved. First item of business is I want to call our Chief of Police, Chief Guy Howie, to the podium, who's going to explain a little bit about a promotion that we're going to celebrate here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'd like to introduce to you tonight Officer Garth Bragg and his family. He's married to Brooke, and they have 3 children, Ella, Amelia, and Ezra. He enjoys hunting, trapping, and hiking. He served 6 years in the Army National Guard with Kentucky. He was previously a Scottsville policeman, and he's been with OPD, or GPD, since February of 22. Mayor, Sergeant Bragg, if you'll come forward, sir.
like that. I like the fact that we do it that way. It's always good to see the families here because it is a celebration. We have something else that is going to be coming up that's very exciting here. We're very proud of our veterans in this community, and I want to do something with our veterans, but before we do that, we have a very special award that we are going to be implementing tonight. You don't see what? We have Chastity Lowry.
I didn't know if you wanted to give a little background.
Well, let's do right here. I just want to make sure that I've done everything for our fine officers right here. Let me give some background. The city of Glasgow could not operate without volunteers. And there has been a decision made in a committee meeting to establish a way to honor some volunteers. This is going to be called the Volunteer Spotlight. It's not going to be every week or every month or whatever. It's going to be as we have requests to recognize volunteers who have made a difference. Now, with that being said, to make the presentation to our first ever, what?
Do you want me to go to the podium or just here with the mic?
I think with the microphone so that our people on the video can hear this, okay? So the point is that this particular recognition is finally going to happen with a whole lot of people sneaking around in the background. So Chastity, if you'll go ahead.
Yes. Jay, would you like to come up here with me?
Yeah.
Come on up here.
Come on.
You do. You have to stand up here. We'll let you stand in front of me here. So this proclamation, September 2023, the City of Glasgow volunteer, to all to whom these presents shall come. A truly great volunteer is hard to find. Jay Ramey has been a volunteer at the historic Plaza Theater since 2007. At first, he would help with odds and ends, moving things and loading in. Then he became more of a stagehand, helping or supervising those loading in the equipment and keeping up the historic Plaza Theater's recycling. Over the years, Jay has been in more of a security type role, making sure the artist crews are covered at the backstage door, using his stellar personality to encourage patrons to move away from the front of the stage. He's also been involved in driving, picking up, and taking artists to their hotels. Whereas beginning in 2017, Jay became the popcorn popper extraordinaire and has been awarded the world's best popcorn maker in both 2019 and 2022. He doesn't only make the best popcorn, but he keeps the other Plaza volunteers and staff well stocked with produce, homemade salsa, spice crackers, peanut brittle, and peanut butter cups for dessert. Whereas not only does he volunteer at the Plaza, but he also does volunteer work in the community. He helps families by mowing, cleaning siding, and always being available for the smallest of tasks with a smile on his face and a story to be told. Jay is our first recipient of the City of Glasgow's Volunteer Spotlight Proclamation. It is with great appreciation, thankfulness, and honor that we celebrate Jay Ramey for his contribution to the quality of life in Glasgow, Kentucky, and recognize his selfless commitment.
Hear, hear.
Thank you so much. Oh, hang on, the mayor's got something else. Oh, my goodness.
First one of these. Jay Ramey, September 2023, City of Glasgow volunteer. Congratulations. Early you do. You helped the crowd. Who's going to see you? All right. Well, Plaza is blessed with volunteers. So is the South Central Kentucky Cultural Center. So is Entertain Glasgow. We have the Garden Club. We have so many people who volunteer to help out the city. And I think we need to be wise in congratulating and thanking those volunteers who help us to cover the bases on those things. Very nice indeed. Now, as I was alluding to, trying to make sure that we didn't really want to tell Jay about this, so we were doing a little decoy, but now we can move forward. We have Matt Mutter. Matt is in charge of the Barron County Veterans Association. This is a new thing that's coming up that I want you all to be aware of, and I want you to see how we're going to do a special honor for our veterans coming up here. Matt, thank you for being here, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. First, I got to say I've never met a popcorn popper extraordinaire. So I feel honored to be here with you. It's excellent popcorn, I do say. About May of this year, I approached the mayor with an idea that I've had for a while, and I've seen it in other towns. And what it is, it's a banner that is placed upon light posts or utility poles around different cities. And I've seen it several different cities, and I thought, well, I think Glasgow should have this too. So I got to do a little research on it and approached the mayor with an idea. And I'm going to pass out an example of what we had in mind. Let you all take a look at it. Most of you probably remember Mr. Travis Lyle. He has since passed on, but he was very instrumental in a lot of veterans activities and organizations in this area. Military man from top to bottom, that's for sure.
Thanks, sir.
And this is just one of many that we've been working on. I wanted to see an example of what we had in mind. The idea, first let me say, the mayor knew I needed help with this, so he stuck Mr. Kevin Myatt and Martin Kirkpatrick with me because I needed all the help I could get. They, along with Debbie Reese, if you're familiar with her, she is very active in the DAV Ladies Auxiliary. She has helped me, they have helped me immensely to come up with 16 names for the very first ones that we're planning to put up. We have worked with Gerald's Printing. They have been excellent to work with, just awesome people down there. And I must say the Renaissance Committee has worked with us to pay for the initial first 16 banners that we're putting up. These will be 18 inches by 36-inch banners, and the total cost is $1,780. This also includes the hardware to mount it on the light pole with. And there will be 16 poles around the square that we will be mounting. It's the same ones that you see the American flags on throughout the year, and different flags. The celebration that we just had, it's the same type of flag, same type of banner. The idea that I have behind this is after the initial 16, these will run through Veterans Day. We'll leave them up a little bit after Veterans Day this year. And then hopefully after the beginning of the year, we will allow, if you want to sponsor a veteran in your family, a friend or family member, you can pay the fee to have this banner made, and then we will put the banner up on the square throughout the year at different times. Once that banner has been up for a while, we will take that banner down and then give it to the family that purchased it originally. That's the idea that I've had, and I'm always open to any other ideas that anybody has to make this better, to improve it. But that's what we have come up with. And I'm so thankful for Kevin Myatt, Marna, the Renaissance Committee, Debbie Reese, the mayor for allowing us to run with this. Hopefully it will help show a little veteran pride in our community. We are a very veteran-rich community. I always say that. So many veterans in this area, so much military history in this area, and I think we should be proud of it. And that's my idea. Now, I have a list of the initial 16, and We've kind of kept it a secret. I came up with about half of them myself, and I needed some help to come up with some more. Kevin was very instrumental. That's where Debbie came in to help. She came up with a lot of ideas. I will say, I don't think there's any harm in saying this tonight, Mr. Joe Trigg will be one of our initial 16. And you can thank your wife for keeping that a secret from you. But he will be one of our initial 16. And she said I didn't need to ask for your permission to do that either. So don't look at me like that, Jabby. She gave me permission to do that. So proud to have you to be one of the initial 16. Anybody got any questions about it? That's about all.
I got one. Just as these cycle off, will you wait until you have 16 more, or if you have 8? I don't think you're going to have any problem getting 16, but will it all be so that it looks symmetric around the square that they're all?
I think that would be the best course of action, to wait till you get 16 and then take the 16 down and then install a new 16. Somewhere between that, yeah. It's about 100, 120, because once we get the initial hardware, we won't have to buy that every time, so we'll already have that. Any other questions?
Well, you got a couple of, we're on the edge of the seats. First of all, know when you're going to release the other names of the members who are going up, and also when will the flags, the banners be put up for the first time?
Definitely before Veterans Day. We were, Marner, weren't we saying about 3 or 4 weeks before Veterans Day? I think that's what. Right.
Okay.
I can absolutely do that.
All right.
Willa Brown Chappelle, if you're not familiar with her, there's a historical marker here on the square. John Wood, who was present at the attack on Pearl Harbor. William Phelan, Harry Ward, Charles Ross, who was a POW in Korea for about 3 years, Forrest McQuiston, Thomas Pendleton, most of you probably know him as Tommy Pendleton, Barney Tracy, Roger Thomas, Eugene Moore, Richard Wood, Joe Trigg, Russell Daugherty, Travis Lyle, William Cook, and Elmer Lawrence.
My goodness.
And I think that covers a wide range of different military services, different time periods. We tried to cover as many areas as we could, and and not just stick with one time period. And believe it or not, those names were hard to come up with. Like I said, we've been working on it since May, and Kevin would send me a text, you got the names yet, you got them, and they kept on, and it was hard to come up with those names, and we wanted to get a decent picture to go with each one of them, and we wanted, your wife gave me the picture. We wanted to have the picture, we wanted to have their branch, we wanted to have their years of service, and we just wanted to be a professional job, and there again, Gerald's printing has been very helpful in that, very professional.
Great job. Very good indeed. Very good.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Matt. And congratulations to you, Mr. Trigg, and the other 15, that got into the first 16. But, it's kind of like the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter if you're first or last. When you're in, you're in.
As long as you get in.
So thank you for what you're doing.
I'd also like to say we hopefully will be putting some more names on the Veterans Wall pretty soon. We usually like to get 30 names so we can do a lot of them at one time, and we don't have quite 30 just yet, but we're working on it, so be looking forward to that too, and I'll let you know when that comes about.
Okay.
The price on the Veterans Wall, it's is it 40? I think it's $40. Yeah. And you can get an application online, or I've had people from out of town that have called me, and I've sent them an application in the mail to them.
Yeah.
So it's,
All right.
if anybody needs an application, I'm pretty easy to get in touch with, or you can come by City Hall, or you can get it. You can print your own offline.
Yeah. Very good.
So we've got some in the next cycle that we want to put, we'll just contact you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Matt and Marna and Kevin have worked really hard on this, and I think we're going to really be excited when we see these go up and see how well received they are.
I'm excited about it. I've seen them in other towns, and
Uh-huh.
I think Glasgow can do just as well or
Yeah.
better than what I've seen in other towns. Thank you for your help.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna put it up first middle of October to, say, December 1st. Will that be the same time period every year that they go up?
That's just the initial, but I'm open to do them any time of the year. If we can get 16, we can do it any time of the year. I think that was the idea, wasn't it, Marna?
I only thought it would be, these people gave their lives
Right.
for us. I would leave them up more than a couple months, maybe look at least 3 to 6 months window.
Well, and there's some different factors that go into that, like the material and how durable it is in the weather. And we're kind of toying around with that right now to kind of see how it does. But I agree with you. As soon as you get 16, I'd like to put them up throughout the year if we can.
Mr. Murray, Mr. Goss, since I routinely do the flags, I can tell you that the task and the work on both of those objects, the flags, so we usually do Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and do it 3 or 4 days to the site. I think that's been the standard. I think from the Glasgow Cemetery is probably about the same that we do. And that's the way the military kind of plays that for the Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and, the other holidays. Maybe we might even get away with 4th of July, but that would be pushing because we have all of the big flags.
Hopefully this material is going to be a little more durable than just your ordinary flag. So hopefully it'll last a little bit longer.
Instead of this go like for the family, maybe in a case or something.
Yeah,
for the family.
Yeah, I'd like to get each one of them to a family member and let them have it when we take it down.
Last question. Will there be somewhere, I know you got the veterans wall, but will there be something designated, kind of like what Mike said, like the Hall of Fame here in this, I don't know if it's called the Hall of Fame, or if you're, is this gonna be a separate thing for these people and then just add to, or will they just be the banners?
Separate from the wall, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely separate from the wall.
No, but I mean, will there be any, once these names come down at the wall, will there be a place where he was one of the first 16, or?
We haven't established that yet, but I'm completely open to that idea. And I'll let the mayor can think on that.
Sure.
And
Sure.
whatever
It's a
ideas
good
y'all
idea.
work with, we'll make it work.
It's a good idea to do that.
Again, after being involved with doing much of this, got this culture center, I want to make a recommendation that a short list goes there at the culture center, and then that would just. Yeah, I mean, just somewhere for, if the first family comes in, they can say, Mr. Lyle was, our first 16,
Right.
go check it out at the culture center.
I agree with that. I think that's an excellent idea.
And maybe even if they're not on the wall already, some of these 16 may not be on the wall, then, if they make that, then they get on the wall.
We can definitely do that too, yeah.
All right.
I'll talk to you about not in open session.
Okay.
Nothing bad.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Matt, for being here, and thanks for sharing that, because it is going to be something that we can be proud of. Another thing we can be proud of. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the hard work on this as well. As we move down the agenda, we're going to slip into old business. Rich, we've got a second reading of an ordinance, I think.
This is the second reading of an ordinance establishing the 2023 tax rate for the city of Glasgow, and I'll be reading from the summary. This ordinance levies an ad valorem tax for the general fund of 0.169 per $100 of assessed value on real estate and 0.176 per $100 of assessed value on personal property, subject to taxation for municipal purposes and having taxable situs in the city of Glasgow as of January 1 of this year, and is listed on the tax assessment ledger. It provides that all tax monies collected shall be paid into the city's general fund to be used for payment of proper expenditures as determined by the city council. It establishes the deadlines for the taxpayers to pay the taxes owed, and also establishes discounts that may be realized by the taxpayers if the taxes are paid on or before certain dates. It provides that delinquent taxes shall be collected pursuant to Kentucky revised statutes relating to the collection of delinquent taxes by the city of a third class. It provides that if any part of the taxing ordinance is declared invalid, the remainder of the ordinance shall not be affected, and that all ordinances in conflict with this taxing ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent that they are in conflict. And lastly, it provides that the ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
You've heard the second reading of this ordinance. I will entertain a motion that we approve the ordinance.
Motion, Benel.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Norris.
All right. Any discussion? I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Lowry,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Benel,
Yes.
Marion,
Yes.
Trigg, Gauntz,
Yes, ma'am.
Neal,
Yes.
Witcher, Kirkpatrick.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the second reading of the ordinance passes. Let's move on down to, an establishment of a non-elected city office.
Yes, sir. This is the second reading of an ordinance establishing the non-elected city office of City Administrative Officer. Again, I'll be reading from a summary. This ordinance creates a new non-elected office position of City Administrative Officer pursuant to KRS 83A-080 and KRS 83A-090. It provides that the appointment is by the mayor with the approval of the city council, and that the mayor may remove the city administrative officer at will. It establishes the qualifications, duties, and responsibilities of the office of city administrative officer. It provides that the city administrative officer shall carry out all additional duties lawfully delegated by appropriate order of the executive authority, which is the mayor, and shall have the same powers as the executive authority in carrying out such duties. It requires that the city administrative officer be administered the oath required by Section 228 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and execute the required bond. It provides that the city administrative officer's compensation be established by the executive authority of the city in accordance with the personnel and pay classification plan of the city. And it provides that the ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law.
All right, again, this is the second reading of the ordinance establishing the non-elected city office position of City Administrative Officer. I will entertain a motion that we approve this ordinance by Councilman Gauntz, second by Councilman Neal. Any discussion? I will ask the clerk to conduct a roll call vote on second reading of this ordinance.
Marion,
Yes.
Trigg, Gauntz,
Yes, ma'am.
Neal, Witcher, Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Norris,
Yes.
Benel,
Yes.
Lowry.
Yes.
Motion carries. We have some municipal orders to consider, some reappointments, actually, on some of the committees that we have. Rich, you want to go ahead and talk about those?
Yes, sir. On order of the mayor, Tommy Simpson is hereby reappointed to the Board of Building and Housing Appeals Stormwater Advisory Committee. This appointment is a 4-year term expiring September 30, 2027, and is adopted pursuant to law this 25th day of September 2023.
I will entertain a motion that we approve this municipal order.
Motion.
Okay, and Lowry, is any discussion about the municipal order? I'll call the question then. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We also are going to have another municipal order here. Rich, you want to pass that along?
On order of the mayor, Joe Austin is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Fort Williams Restoration Commission. This appointment shall be a 4-year term expiring September 30, 2027, adopted by municipal order according to law this 25th day of September 2023.
You've heard the municipal order to reappoint Joe Austin to the Fort Williams Committee. I'll entertain a motion that we approve that. All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, by Councilman Neal. Is any discussion on this executive order? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign. The order is passed. And we also have another municipal order. You want to pass that along, Rich?
On order, the Mayor, Joe Trigg, is hereby reappointed to serve as a member of the Fort Williams Restoration Commission. This is a 4-year term as well, expiring September 30, 2027, adopted pursuant to law today's date.
All right, you've heard, again, the executive order. I'll entertain a motion that we approve this motion.
Motion Norris.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, Councilman Neal. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the motion carries. All right, let's move into new business, Rich.
This is a resolution authorizing and approving the exchange of real property with Southern States Cooperative. That whereas Southern States Cooperative, Inc. and the City of Glasgow own property near one another along Cross Street just below the Glasgow Municipal Cemetery. Whereas Southern States has requested that the city convey to Southern States a portion of the city's property which would benefit Southern States, and in return, Southern States has offered to convey to the city a portion of Southern States property which would benefit the city. Whereas Southern States and the city have obtained appraisals of the properties involved, and the property to be conveyed to the city is appraised at $2,400, and the property to be conveyed to Southern States is appraised at $9,600. And whereas the parties have agreed that Southern States shall pay to the city the difference between the two appraisals, which is $7,200, and shall equally share in all costs associated with closing the real estate transaction. Now, therefore, in light of these recitals and the benefits derived by both parties involved, be it hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow as follows. 1. The city and Southern States shall execute deeds exchanging and conveying to one another the properties described herein and as shown on Exhibits A and B attached hereto. Southern States shall pay to the city the difference between the two appraisals, which is $7,200, and shall share in all costs associated with closing the real estate transaction. 3, Mayor Henry Royce is authorized and directed to execute all documents necessary in order to complete this transaction for and on behalf of the City of Glasgow, including but not limited to a deed of conveyance. And lastly, City Attorney Rich Alexander is authorized and directed to prepare all of the real estate closing documents for the city and to conduct the closing, adopted today's date.
You've had the documents in your packet. You've heard the reading of this resolution. I'll entertain a motion that we approve it.
Motion Benel.
Second,
Okay.
Lowry.
Okay. What about discussion?
I've got one. Is this the property parallel or adjacent to the fire department?
It's on the other side of the road. It's on the, not the fire department side of the road, but it's on the same road on the Southern States side of the road.
All right, where the railroad tracks is.
Yeah,
Where the
yeah,
railroad tracks.
yeah. It's just widening what they have up there. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. The resolution is approved. Continue with new business.
Mayor, this is an ordinance repealing certain sections of the city's Code of Ordinances. That whereas it is the intent of the City of Glasgow to adopt a new personnel policies and procedures manual. Whereas prior to the adoption of the new manual, in order to eliminate any potential conflicts with now existing employment-related ordinances, it is necessary to repeal certain sections of the city's Code of Ordinances. Now, therefore, in light of the foregoing recitals, be it hereby ordained by the city as follows. Section 1, the Glasgow Code of Ordinance, Chapter 37, shall be and hereby is amended such that the code sections referenced in the attached Exhibit A shall be repealed and of no future force and effect. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law. And you have the attachment there with the headings and the various code sections to be repealed.
Again, this came to you last week. Did anybody have any questions or anything about knowing what these, what the repeals are doing in changing this Code of Ordinances? If not, then I'll entertain a motion that we approve this ordinance.
Motion Norris.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Howie, second by Councilman Goss. Is there anybody want to discuss the repealing of these sections of the Code of Ordinance?
Mayor Ross, I just, asked the question is, when we look at all the changes we're making, and it talks about, in the next item we're going to look at is the committee. Is that a committee comprised, obviously, of city employees?
Yes.
With our attorney, city attorney?
Yes.
I was not on the actual committee, but once the committee met, made the recommendations, it came to me. I've reviewed it. KLC's council has reviewed it, so that's how it got to this point.
And when we get to the,
Chief Rock was there, Eddie, April, myself, Joe, Lance, we were all part of that. Lance kind of walked us through it and talked about some of the legalities that he had spoke to Rich about it. He was in contact with KLC also, making sure everything lined up.
and the next agenda item, we're going to have Lance approach the podium to talk a little bit more about it.
Okay, correct.
But right now, are there further discussions on repealing these certain sections of the Code of Ordinances?
Would there be any items, if we repeal this ordinance, would there be any items that would be grandfathered into the ordinance that we're going to look at in just a few minutes?
No, sir.
All right, so just completely takes the
Complete.
entire ordinance out.
Correct.
Replaces with the new one.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And I will say just real quick, and I'm sure Lance will touch on this, but back in my previous tenure as city attorney, I remember we had a similar process with a personnel manual, and it just got outdated. Things change, and you need to revamp those from time to time. And so I feel real comfortable about the version that we're taking a look at tonight.
Any other questions? We have plenty of time if you have any more questions about repealing of this ordinance.
So will there be a new listing with the new,
What will happen, Councilman Trigg, is that remember we have that American Publishing Corporation that codifies as we go along. So once we repeal these, and then when we adopt the new one, it'll be sent off to them, and they'll put it in our new Code of Ordinances and replace that. So.
Other questions? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can move on to the new policy.
This is a municipal order adopting new personnel policies and procedures manual. That whereas in contracting with the Kentucky League of Cities, the City of Glasgow has developed a new personnel policies and procedures manual. Whereas a committee was formed to review and evaluate the new manual and to make recommendations to the City Council with respect to its adoption. Whereas the committee has met, reviewed, and approved the new manual and recommends that the City Council approve same. Now, therefore, the City of Glasgow does hereby order that the new personnel policies and procedures manual, a specimen copy of which is attached here to Exhibit A, shall be and hereby is adopted, effective immediately, and all prior personnel policies and procedures manuals be deemed null, void, and no effect as of the adoption of this order. So ordered this 25th day of September 2023.
Okay, this is a very detailed process, and the committee worked on this quite a bit. Lance Crimmins, who is our Human Resources Director for the city, is going to come to the podium and tell you about the process, tell you about some of the changes, and be available if you all have questions about the process. Lance?
Well, I guess to start, just to explain why you all just did what you did. The policy that we have now in place was actually put in place in 2004, I think, and it's actually on that list. It's Chapter 37.18, I believe, and that resolution is exactly what he just read, except it's for the previous one. The problem is that in 1988-ish time frame, the City Council, rather than put in a handbook, they put in each policy individually into the Code of Ordinances. So in 2004, when we adopted the current handbook, we did it. That ordinance said that the same thing that this one said, that that all previous things were null and void, but you can't repeal, you can't overlay one without repealing the other. So that was never done. So we actually have two kind of sets of conflicting personnel policies right now. So that's the whole purpose of repealing what we have in place and just starting new. Going forward, the handbook will be handled in about the same way that we handle the police and the fire department's policies. We'll bring amendments to you all and let you vote on them and do it the same way that we do those policies. As far as this particular handbook that's in front of you, I started working on this sometime in late October of 2022 under Mayor Armstrong. It was something that he wanted us to do. We actually got a draft finished before he left office, but then the committee decided we should wait with the new administration coming in to make sure there weren't things that we needed to do. In the meantime, the state legislature and some things changed at the federal level, so we kind of had to start again, and so that's why we're a little bit later, much later than I wanted us to be in terms of this process. The whole reason why we wanted to do this is because, as I said, the handbook that we have was originally put in place in 2004. It was last amended in 2014, so we're looking at a document that's almost 20 years old and that hasn't been amended in about 10 years. So the purpose was to bring us into compliance legally. Things have changed in the last 10 years, but also to make sure that we were trying to be as competitive as possible in attracting and retaining employees. The job market's pretty tight. We don't want to have people going somewhere else because they can get better benefits, or we want to be as competitive as we can possibly be with the dollars that we have. So that was really the purpose. You all have a copy of the handbook, I believe. That first page that I gave you all is the major changes. There's actually not a lot of major changes. Most of it is just in the wording of things. The really big changes are in the bold in this thing. We made some adjustments to the probationary periods. We made some adjustments to vacation time, especially for police officers, to make sure we met the legal requirements. And then we made some adjustments to our parental leave. But by and large, in practice, most of this is going to not really change a lot about how the city operates on a day-to-day basis. But I'd be happy to answer questions if you have anything you want to ask about.
Any changes that we would look at to this are going to come through the council via an ordinance,
in
correct?
In the future, yes. A municipal order. Yeah. Just like the same way you all change the policies at the police department and the fire department.
Good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Other questions? Lance is very familiar with this, and he's here to answer any questions you all might have about it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that being said, I'll entertain a motion that we approve adopting the new personnel policies and procedural manual.
Motion, Benel.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Lowry. Now, any further discussion on the topic of changing this procedure and policies manual?
Mayor Royce, the only question I have is I noticed that the vacation time would change to where they could only bankroll 2/3. Is that correct?
That was one of the discussions. Lance, you want to talk about that? Because I do know we had that discussion when we were coming to the final draft of that.
The provision that you're talking about, the current policy says that employees have to use at least 5 days a year of their vacation. First of all, we don't measure vacation in terms of days, we measure it in terms of hours. And this policy says that they have to use 2/3 of their vacation every year. In other words, if they earn 100 hours this year, they have to use 66 and 2/3 hours of that. The purpose of that is because we as employees are here with us longer, they bank more time, but we have a cap that they can only bank so much, and if they go above that cap, they lose it. And so we had the situation where we had employees who were either going to lose time or they were going to have to use it all in a huge chunk at the end of the year. And this is kind of an attempt to amend what we were already doing in a way to encourage people to use the vacation that they get. Now, this won't affect employees until they've been here at least 2 years, so they'll have an opportunity to bank some time. And when I talk about banking time, I'm talking about 240 hours, 240 hours, which is 6 weeks of vacation. So they can get up to 6 weeks before they start losing anything. But we're not taking anything away. We're trying to encourage them to use more vacation.
So
The ones that are there now are tenured employees. Will it go from the previous to the 2/3 then?
Yeah, but nobody's going to lose any time that they already.
Right, yes, I understand.
That's just a yearly.
It's just a yearly thing, yeah.
All right, other discussion?
I just think I make an observation. In the military, they started forcing folks to take leave. And the reason we as employers give employees is to give them time to relax and get away from the job. A lot of times folks are so dedicated to the job, they don't want to take the time. So the leave starts occurring, and then when you have mental issues, stress and those kind of things occur, then usually one of the underlying factors was the member had acquired so much leave and time, instead of taking time away to spend with family and others, they were spending it at the job. So, I mean, it's imperative that the employees understand that should be that's our intention is their well-being and making sure they do what they need to do.
Good point. Other discussion? Thank you, Lance. I will call the question. All those in favor of adopting the new personnel policies and procedures manual indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor, we have one more municipal order in the new business category. On order of the mayor, April Russell is hereby appointed to the City of Glasgow non-elected city officer position of City Administrative Officer. This municipal order is adopted pursuant to statute and was approved today's date, September 25, 2023.
All right, you've heard the municipal order to swear in April Russell as the City of Glasgow non-elected city officer position of City Administrative Officer. I will entertain a motion that we, okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, is there any discussion? All right, no discussion. I will call the question. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? Okay, and the motion carries. I guess the next thing according to my agenda is that we need to swear her in. So, April, we're doing lots of swearing here tonight. You trying to call? April has worked for the City of Glasgow 13 years. And she's been in stormwater, Department of Public Works, grant writing, all those kind of things. And she's kind of seen a little bit of everything. And we're excited to have you sworn in as official City Administrative Officer. So I'm going to do the oath of office. And photographer Howie's going to be over there and get a good shot of this, okay? Are you ready? You raise your right hand. I, April Russell, do solemnly swear or affirm as the case may be that I will support the Constitution There's some announcements I want to share here very quickly with you. This one, Joe Trigg, I know Joe knows about this, and the others, the people that are involved in Fort Williams, but I'm going to tell you, on Thursday night of this week, it's going to be your chance to not just study history, you're going to get to hear history for the first time. Sam Terry of the Barron County Historical Society has gotten letters from a soldier who was stationed at Fort Williams during the Civil War. These letters he wrote to his wife, and he has gotten copies of these where he describes conditions. He actually has drawn the entire inside of the fort, where everything was inside of the fort. They're in really good shape, and if you love history, and this is going to be the 160th year of Fort Williams, but these letters that Sam Terry has, he's going to be presenting them Thursday night at 6 o'clock free of charge at the Cultural Center. And we're not reevaluating or reviewing history. This is going to be the first time this has ever been publicly shared, because he has, he has done a lot of research and put all this together. So if anybody loves history and knows how much our Fort Williams is revered here, it might be good to come up to the Cultural Center on Thursday night and hear Sam's presentation.
If we have a conflict, will there be somebody videotaping?
I'm sure there probably will be, yes. Oh, it really is. And, it's amazing. It's just amazing what he has learned about Fort Williams and what it was like up there during that time. And the letters that he sent to his wife. Fascinating.
Did you say Thursday night at 6?
Thursday night at 6 at the Cultural Center. So I hope everybody can do that. And then, of course, we've had such a wonderful time with so many improvements that have gone on up at Fort Williams, and they continue to. And we're always amazed. Sam Terry, as well as some of the others involved in the committee, they keep up with how many people Google Fort Williams, and it's amazing how many people Google it, and how that we've all seen people up there who found it just to come and see it. So it's an interesting tourist attraction indeed, so you can know more of the history. And the other thing I want to talk about was the fact that we have a recycling day coming up on October the 7th from 8 a.m. until 11:30 out at the Glasgow Regional Landfill. Those have been doing really well, and look forward to that. Remember that date, October the 7th. Now, with no further items on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Thank y'all for your attention and your attendance.